Hey there. At the end of May, I found myself in the passenger side of our car, driving home from a farm out in Jefferson County. And on my lap was the most cuddly 17-pound, 13-week-year-old or 13-week-old yellow lab puppy. Absolutely adorable. But it wasn't what I had in mind. He wasn't a female black lab puppy. That was my first choice, but my family fell in love with Milo, and we were driving home with him, unbeknownst to me. I'm going to tell you about this story. But first, welcome to Live with Mollie, where I bring you stories, news, thoughts, and inspiration to help you on your family's photo saving journey. Whether you're here live or you're joining on the replay, I welcome your thoughts and questions about saving photos. We are all in this together, and I just want to be a resource for you, a place where you can get some help. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about what do photos say about our lives? And I'd love to know, what does your photo collection say about your life? You can leave a post in the comments if you like, and we'll try to take a look at those before our program's over. And also, if you have questions, drop them in there and we'll see if we can answer those as well. So in today's show, we're going to talk about the question I mentioned. We're going to talk about Milo, and I have some news in the photo organizing world to share with you. And of course, if I can answer some questions, I already have a couple in mind. But go ahead and post in the chat area. I'd be happy to address those at some point towards the end of the program. I also have a couple announcements that you might want to stick around for. So, I had planned for this podcast to be weekly. And it's so funny how life has a way of just interrupting the plans that you have. I see it all the time with people who are organizing photos. They think they're going to, tackle something, and they've got a good few months of progress, and then something happens, like life happens. A health issue, a job change, a family event can derail us. And that's sort of what happened to me for the past 4 weeks that I have been off the mic. But I'm back today, and I think I'm going to stick on track. I have to tell you, I grew up with family black lab dogs. Excuse me. I grew up with female black lab dogs. My mother was a little concerned about having male dogs. So we always had female dogs. I think it's something about the males, you know what. And we had female dogs, and they were black. But my husband was looking forward to maybe having a yellow lab so that the dog would match our Cocker Spaniel. Sydney's blonde. And I figured, okay, I'll concede on the color. We're going to get a yellow female lab puppy. And back in the end of May, I made arrangements to go out to this farm. I put money down on a brand new puppy that was born, and we were going to get to meet this new puppy, really little. I told my husband, while we're at the farm, if we are encountering a female black lab puppy that tugs at our shoestrings, we're going to take that one home. And he laughed at me. Well, anyway, we ended up at the farm, and we got to meet our little our little newborn yellow lab female puppy. She was adorable. She was so little, cuddly. Her eyes weren't even opening yet, and she made these cute little whimpering noises. And I knew I was going to really be excited in 7 or 8 weeks when we could pick her up and take her home. And it was a done deal. However, we started out the farm, and we were leaving past one of the pens, and there was two puppies in there. One was black and one was yellow. and they were boys. And of course, my husband and I and my daughter was with me. We wanted to go in and say hello. And that darn yellow puppy, the male one, went and tugged at Paul's shoelaces. We were goners. I was goner. That dog was going home with us no matter what. And I was fairly disappointed because it wasn't a female and it wasn't a black lab. But it was okay because we don't always get what we want, right? And I knew that uh, I would just, have to come to accept it. Few weeks later, so it's 6 weeks in, and we've had this Milo for a while. He's a perfect dog. He's friendly and loyal. And I was teasing Paul and saying, I didn't get to pick the dog I wanted. And he's like, what's wrong with Milo? He's a great dog. And I said, well, he's a boy. And he's like, what does it matter? And I come to realize that most people don't care whether they have a male or a female dog. And I realized I was kind of being ridiculous to even tease him about it. I realized that having Milo was a great opportunity for us. Having a black lab puppy, a female, probably would have been like my 100% perfect situation, but Milo was right up there at 95% perfect. And why do I tell you all of this? Because sometimes you don't get to choose the perfect outcome that you want. And yet the outcome is still going to be pretty darn amazing. And that's what I find with people and their photo collections. They're so concerned about, making sure things are done the right way. And they don't even really know how to start because there's so many bins and boxes. And they just don't know exactly what their photo collection should look like, even. What should they save? What should they toss? And that's why I ask the question, what do your photos say about your life? And you might wonder, what does Molly even mean about this question? What do the photos say about my life? Am I asking you about what's in your albums and boxes? Or am I wondering how organized your photos are? Is that really a reflection of your life as how organized they are? Or am I asking, what do your phone photos reveal about the priorities in your life? I actually don't think it's really important how you answer the question, what do your photos say about your life? The first step is to even consider it. In the hustle and bustle of life, we don't even probably give a good amount of time to think about what our photos should look like and what they should say. We need to ask, what do I want my photos to say about my life? There's so many stories, that we've experienced and that our family members have experienced. We want to get closer to the question of what we want our photos to say, and that might help us be motivated to keep going in the process. We want, the photos to really tell the stories of our life. And that's kind of an interesting thing for me. My friend and I, Anne, started Pixologie just about 12 years ago. And when we started, we were trying to think of the best name for Pixologie. And we were brainstorming for a few weeks. And finally, one day, we were eating Culver's ice cream and we came up with Pixologie. And it was fun because we would tell people, biology is the study of life. Pixology is the study of your life through your photos. And your story matters, we'd say, because it does. And I have found that over the years, people really have some consistent themes in their pictures, what those photos say about life. For some people, it's, the photos show how simple life used to be before screens. And sometimes people think when they look at their photos, we didn't have a lot, but we had enough. And other people's photo collections really emphasize the heritage and the journeys that some of our ancestors took to get over to our country. And that's really important to some people. For others, it's raising a family and the chaos and the joy of having a family. This is really important for me because life is busy, and I I don't remember often all the things that I've done even 3 weeks ago. So looking at pictures tells me we've done a lot in life, and it's especially important for my kids. You know, we go through life and the kids, they enter adulthood, which mine are now, and they might at a glance think, well, we didn't have the most greatest growing up experience. But when we look through the photos, we can see all of the things that my husband and I gave them opportunities from sports and music to travel. They got to do a lot. The other thing that photos tend to do, if you are lucky that you have some of these pictures in your collection, is they tell us that we don't always get what we want. So the photo that I have of Milo tugging at Paul's shoestring is actually a really big moment for me. I knew when Milo tugged at Paul's shoe, it was over. I was not going to get a black lab female puppy. And I don't know why it bothered me, but it shouldn't have. And the photo is just kind of a remembrance of that sinking feeling that I had. And thankfully, Milo's a great dog. But it also reminds me of a similar experience with my daughter. She was about 6, and we were at a petting zoo. And the petting zoo had a barn full of kittens. And for whatever reason, my daughter picked up an adult cat. It's this nice, plump cat. She was carrying it around in her little arms. And she's like, "Mom, can we take this cat home?" And of course, we couldn't. And she was so sad. Like, she was, in tears. And the photo I have just shows her so concerned about the cat and sad. And that's when you know that photos can teach kids resilience, that you don't always get what you want. And in this day and age, our kids could use some of that. And that's what I think of too with the picture of Paul and the dog and the shoelace. When I knew that we were getting that dog, I also realized that no one in my family felt a shred of guilt that I wasn't getting the dog I wanted. And you shouldn't feel guilty if your photo collection isn't where you want it to be. We have, all of us, in some way or another, inherited a mess of photos, even memorabilia mixed in there. And I'll tell you, our parents and grandparents and the other older, adults in our family, they weren't great at organizing their photos either. In fact, some people store their pictures in dirty boxes and bins in the basement or in the garage. And of course, now, we kind of feel bad about that. But back then, a lot of people didn't do a lot with their pictures either. The difference is today we have that stuff plus our digital photos. So even our parents and grandparents, they had an easier time and they couldn't manage or they didn't choose to manage their pictures and get the photos and albums and whatnot. It's a generational problem. And we just happen to have the extra mix of the hordes of digital pictures that we're trying to manage. So don't feel bad. Just start somewhere. Even if all you do is make a list of what you need to be done. All right. And I'll tell you, when you realize that things don't have to be perfect, that it doesn't have to be the outcome you expected, it makes it a lot easier. I I have myself been challenged with duplicate photos. Some of you might recall back in the early 2000s, 2010s, a new size of photo came out with digital cameras. You could, take pictures with your digital cameras and it would produce a 4 by 5.3-inch photo. Those do not print well as 4 by 6s. Something gets cropped off. So back in those days, I spent many, many hours cropping pictures from that unusual size format. I could get them printed as 4 by 6s. And then I didn't delete the duplicates. So I ended up having 2 folders for quite a few years of originals and then the cropped pictures. And as I was looking at them, I realized they weren't even the same pictures in both albums. They were mixed up, and I've been just waiting to, like, clean them up when I could examine them photo by photo, which is kind of ridiculous because there's probably 7, 8,000 pictures in there, and that would just be awful. But I kept it there waiting. Now, this last week, I said, "I'm done with looking at that awful situation," and I high level compared what I had, and I began deleting, and it became much easier as I just got into doing it, and it made me feel really good to have it be done. And the takeaway from this is don't let perfection get in the way of progress. No one's going to care about how your photos are cropped, right? Just like no one cares if my dog is a boy or a girl. It's the story that matters. And it's interesting how today's technology is trying to tie stories together for us. I'm going to just mention that in my Apple Photos app, I can search for the word puppy and all of the dog pictures come up. It actually gets the adult dogs in there too. This technology is another way to bring stories to life, and it's it's fascinating because it's coming at us somewhat like a freight train. So the program recognizes when there's a dog and puppies, and it actually will create, slideshows for you. Things like pet friends and other topics. This just gets generated automatically using artificial intelligence. And we really don't have a say much of that coming. It's here. It's been here for years in some ways. There's a news article that I came across. One of my colleagues, Carrie Butkovich, posted this article about Facebook, Meta. So Facebook is owned by Meta, and Facebook is going to start bringing AI to your pictures, and it wants to upload your pictures to its cloud so that it can give you AI suggestions. AI suggestions from Facebook. We already are getting AI suggestions from Google and from Apple, and now Facebook wants in on the game. And as Carrie points out in the post here, this is a privacy issue. Your photos like tell so much about your life, and she's recommending to be sure that you toggle it off. I read a little bit more about the AI, what's going to be happening. So at some point, you're going to update your Facebook app if you use it. And then it's going to ask you if you want to opt into cloud processing. Cloud processing, that's like a whole new set of words there. But essentially, it means artificial intelligence processing, and it wants to access your entire photos library and potentially upload the whole thing to their cloud on an ongoing basis. And it's going to, create themes and locations and things like that for you. I highly recommend that you avoid authorizing Facebook to access your camera roll like that. It's one thing to share a photo on their platform. It's another to let them have access to all of your pictures. In fact, they are acting somewhat like Amazon or Microsoft, with OneDrive. You have Amazon Photos and Microsoft OneDrive. Both of those companies want you to upload their pictures, presumably to offer you backup service. But anytime that your media, your photos and the videos get uploaded to a company's website, all of that data is there for them to analyze. And I don't think anybody specifically is looking at any one of your photos, but on the whole, they're looking and collecting information, and who knows how they will use it in the future. So you want to be careful with this situation. I also noticed that the artificial intelligence is coming into Microsoft more and more with the Windows 11 update. And there's actually been new options to edit your pictures on the PC. So normally people are, working with their pictures in folders, and when they double click on a photo, it launches the Photos app on the PC, which used to be called Gallery. And then you could edit your pictures. Now there's two options for editing pictures. You can edit it in the Photos gallery by clicking on the top left. There's a blue icon edit in the top left of the screen, or you can edit your pictures with something called Designer. It's a brand new program on a PC. Anybody who's keeping their PC updated got this program, and you might not even know it. I didn't know it. And all of a sudden, you could be editing pictures in two different programs, saving them differently, and potentially creating a problem later on. I also noticed that the Designer program has AI and the Microsoft 365 kind of embedded in it. So again, Microsoft is trying to access your pictures. And it seems so, innocent. Oh, we can help you do this and that. And at the top level, it is. It's nice to have these resources, but when they're free, you have to wonder, well, who's the product? We are. Our information is being collected. And again, it's not like they're looking at anything specific, but they can sure read a lot from our photo collections. I noticed on my YouTube channel, somebody posted a question in a video I had on should you use Windows 11 Gallery for your photos? That title is actually obsolete because the gallery name is gone. It's now just called the Photos app. Anyway, his point was that he was trying to figure out what this Windows hot mess is all about. And his last line was, "This is very scammy by Microsoft." It's really interesting to see, the variety of people who will comment. And I hope that helps you're not the only one who's wondering what the heck is going on. Whether you're using, the Windows PC or the Apple computer on your Mac, or you're using a Mac, both of those companies come out with updates, and we are just left trying to catch up. And we'll never, ever catch up because things are coming out so fast now. And that kind of leads me to another video that I had that talked about Apple Photos. And we did have someone who had questions about using Apple Photos on a Mac. And if you can imagine, on a PC, you have folders, and on a Mac, you have the Apple Photos app. He's wondering, I think it's a he, AB, he's got travel albums, and he wants to add captions or descriptions and comments to the album. And then he also asked how he could edit a single shot. He had a few questions in there. So I thought I would just share my screen real quick. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, you can hop over to YouTube and check this out if you like. So the person is wanting to add a description to an Apple Photos album. We are looking at a live questions album. I just made a special album with 2 items in it. There is no way to add a description here of the dog photo and video that I have. You can't add an album or a description. And in my opinion, that is okay because nobody else is going to be able to read that description unless they're in your computer looking at it. Also, Apple Photos is just an extension of the app on the phone, and your whole family photo collection will be mixed up with all the pictures for information that you take, as well as work pictures and whatnot. So I really don't consider Apple Photos to be like the final destination where you would read that information. An example that I would share is from Forever Permanent Photo Storage, which is what we recommend, and I will post a link for that. Um, We are looking at the 1990s photo album here, and I just typed in there, this is a sampling of photos from the 1990s, when I was getting out of college, etc. I can edit that description, and then I can share this album with anybody who would want to view it. So, Forever allows for family photo collections to be documented much easier. Now, to answer the question about changing the format of a photo, you really do have to like be on top of what you want your photos to do. So, for instance, I have this photo. This is Milo out in our backyard, and it's a video. If I wanted to get a screenshot of this from my phone, I would screenshot it right as it was playing. On a Mac, you can do the same thing. A screenshot, you use command key, the shift, and the number 4, and that allows you to take a screenshot of a photo. And then you have to like import it back into the Photos app. That's not an ideal situation. So I try to make sure when I'm taking photos that I get a photo and a video if I think I'm going to need both of them. And then there's always the live photo situation. The Apple format, the camera allows you to use different options like the live photo or portrait and things like that. In the Photos app, you can actually edit that sometimes if you see the option. Here I'm looking at a picture of the other dog who's blonde. And when I right click on this picture, I can turn on live photo. And I won't play this because it's annoying, but I can also turn it off. Yep, see how annoying that was? A laugh. Anyway, there sometimes is an option to change the format there, or you can export the photo in a different format as well. So I hope that answers his question. All right, so that's what I wanted to like cover a little bit of some questions. I am looking at our comments and I don't see any questions right now, which is perfectly fine. I do want to talk about a couple things that we have coming up, and I'm really excited about both of these. So let's just take a look here. In September, we have the Save Your Photos Month, and we're going to again have a virtual boot camp. I've got way more details coming about this, but it'll be Friday night, the September 26th through Saturday, the 27th. And we will have an option for people to come to our studio in Milwaukee and work here for those days if they like. So keep an eye out for details on that. And then we have the Great Photo Voyage. Krista Kowalczyk and I are going on a cruise in February. Krista is my friend and colleague who helped people rescue photos during Hurricane Ian down in Florida. She experienced the flooding, and as a professional photographer, she really felt strongly to help people. And we've just connected and enjoyed working together, helping people save their photos. So you can see more details about that in the description as well. I also will mention, odd timing here, is that tonight, in about 2.5 hours, she and I are going to do a live program on YouTube, just talking about the cruise and maybe answering any questions if people have. So those are the upcoming events. The last thing that I wanted to mention is this podcast is going to move to Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Time. I have had a little birdie remind me that Mondays can be kind of a crazy day. You're recovering from the weekend, and we're going to move to Tuesdays. So starting next week, we'll be on here at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, Central Time. And I guess I want to leave you with one last thing. We have talked about, what photos tell us, in terms of the stories of our lives. And I've mentioned how the outcome that you were looking for, you might not get that, but you're going to get something pretty amazing when you put your mind to it in saving your photos. Here, you can focus on the size of a picture And maybe it just matters that you save a picture and you don't worry about if you have the perfect digital version of it. And remember that no one cares so much about the details. They want to know the general essence of the story, the essence of what life was like. And that's what I wish for everybody is that you spend time enjoying the memories and not worrying about the details of how to preserve them all. One step at a time will get you there. All right, that is it for today. I hope this has been helpful and I love your feedback. We will always take that into consideration. You guys have a wonderful 4th of July, and I will see you next week. Take